this is going to be the growth track, kindly sponsored by the lovely folk at Superscale. And although they will be coming up in just about 20 minutes, half an hour. But before then, to get us started, we're going to launch right into one of those hot topics I highlighted earlier with Simon Thillay of AppTweak and Gameloft's Claudia Trujilo. I'm sure I've got that wrong, but I'm having a go. That's what's important, right? They'll be exploring how to get ready for the changes in iOS 15. So let me just remove that. So who do I have with us? Hey, Simon, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, Chris. Good. How are you? Happy PGC birthday.
I know, thank you. I know, like I just want more excuse to do this. There's not enough opportunities to do this. Look, I've helped myself to a bit of bolly here, which I'll be having later on. It's empty. It's an empty bottle, as if champagne is unopened here. But lovely. And Claudia, how are you, Claudia?
Hello. I'm fine. Really good. Really glad
Good.
to be here.
Sorry. I've not slept much. A little bit of too high energy in the morning. But you've got to start strong. Where are you guys based? Where are you guys? Are you out in I want to say Paris, France? Is that right or no?
No, Belgium, Brussels.
Belgium. Fair enough. The EU. We love the EU. We do. I do anyway. The rest of the UK is a bit undecided. Anyway, are you guys ready to launch into this? It sounds a really fascinating subject.
Yeah, just ready to go. So I'll be giving a very quick intro. We actually don't have slides for today. We're just going to be talking and trying to get Q&As at the end so that everyone can wake up with the delicious sound of our voices, obviously.
No, that's good. Well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, I'm sure. And you guys have got certainly more insight than me. So enough hearing me talking. I will move on to you talking, and I'll be here in the background, and I'll pop in if you need help, and I'll pop in with the end to sort of to manage questions and stuff. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, guys, first of all, our topic for today, again, is about iOS 15, how actual game industry leaders are preparing for iOS 15. So that's why I'm super delighted to have Claudia join. My name is Simon. I'm working at AppTweak. If you don't know us, we're an app store optimization tool and company helping a lot of big game studios across the world. We've been here before. We've been here at PGC multiple times. Last time I had actually shared a quick checklist that we recommended for iOS 15. And so today, since iOS 15 is technically out, although we're going to discuss about what's still not there, I asked Claudia to join us to explain what she's actually doing about it, because it's more interesting when you get to hear also from people working directly at game studios. So Claudia, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm really delightful to be here. So I'm Claudia. I work as the ASO expert at Gameloft. And so we are really thrilled to have Simon and all the team from AppTweak sharing with us what's the new trends, and we can answer some questions about the new features, what iOS 15 is going to be for all of us developers. And so let's get into it.
Awesome. So yeah, we're going to try and take 10 minutes Q&A time at the end. So at any point, head to the Q&A box to leave questions there. In the meantime, I just want to ask Claudia, so as a reminder for everyone, Apple announced iOS 15 back in June during WWDC. And when they made the announcement, they announced 3 super big new features for developers, not just for users. And these features are going to be A/B testing called product page optimization, something that we've had on Google Play for a long while now, but we're always expecting to get on iOS. So Christmas has finally come this year. We also get custom product pages. And so if you're not well aware of what that is, go check out the replays after the talk. But in short, they're basically going to be custom App Store landing pages. And I'm sure, Claudia, we're going to talk about them a lot. The last feature that Apple announced was in-app event cards. So something that is also appearing a little on Google Play. It's in beta on Google Play right now, but so it's a great way for game developers to advertise what new content, all the live ops that are going on. And so these were all the big three things that every developer I know were expecting. And iOS 15 rolled out last Monday, and none of them were ready. So if you head out to Apple's page right now, what you will see is that they are just saying these features will release later this year. Obviously, part of the question of why they may not be available immediately could be because simply they need to have more people adopt iOS 15. It takes about a month to get to, I think, 75% usually. So could be quite soon that we start seeing the features come out. But this is one of the possible reasons why Apple is a bit late with the developer gifts, I would say. So with that, I've spoken enough already. Claudia, just when we browse all those announcements that Apple made, can you share with us what you've been most excited about and what's the buzz at Gameloft when you hear these words, A/B testing, custom landing pages, or in-app events?
Sure. So the one that we are most excited about are the product page optimizations, which are the ones that we kind of have right now with Google Play, which are the new custom product pages that we are going to be able to create in order to then have the experiments with the icon, the video, and the screenshots in order to then attract organic users to see how those really are interacting with them and how they feel about them. Because so we're going to be also be having the custom product pages, which are kind of the thing that we could be doing right now with third-party tools, which are custom pages that we create in order for them to then have UA campaigns redirecting traffic to us. And so this is also really interesting for us, but not is our top main priority for the three main features that iOS 15 will be having. The custom product pages, as I think everyone knows, will be also in charge of how the UA strategies are going on. And so this is something really good for us for them to be having a more accurate landing page for their campaigns. And then we are going to be just having our install be from our right page and not a fake page from a third-party tool. So it's something interesting, but we need to also interact with the UA strategy and the UA team. As far as for the product page optimizations, it's purely organic. So it's purely organic traffic. It's purely what we can change and test for different localizations and see how we are really doing, and not just maybe a bias media of how the paid users are really interacting with these different segmentations and targets that we're going to be having through the UA campaigns. And just to mention, so the new in-app events, it's something that, as you mentioned, Google Play right now has in beta. It's something that we're working with, that we're doing really good with and on Google Play. And so we're also really looking forward to see how our performance and our insights from what we have learned from Google Play can somehow maybe be similar on iOS, or maybe it could be better, or see how the users from iOS are really different or similar to the Google Play ones in that sense.
Yeah, I love that part, because I remember ever since I started in ASO, we've always had this conversation about iOS users are different from Google Play users. So it's something where you have to be careful when trying to translate whatever A/B testing win you get from Google Play to iOS. And at the same time, this is still something I see almost everybody do, just because we didn't have any way of checking it organically in the store. So this is going to be a big change. But one thing you started mentioning, and I'm very curious about, is when it comes to getting prepared and the teams that you need to be working with. Can you walk us through a little about who are the different teams involved? When are you speaking with them? Is there a change in how you plan to speak with them now that these features are going to be coming out? What's changing, and where does it put your position as ASO with the rest of the marketing teams that you probably interact with already?
Sure. So for all the three features, so in-app events, product page optimization, and custom product pages, I need to be working really closely with the creative team, with the designers, because we need to have different new visuals to be tested in the different fields. And so that it's one base that all of these features have in common. Then for the product page optimization, the ones that are going to be the organic testings, we also need to be working with the developers, because in case you want to test the icon, you also need to be adding the new icons that you want to test in the binary of the coding of the game, of the release that you're going to be sending, because the icon that they are going to be seeing on the store needs to then match the icon that they will be seeing on the device once they download the game. And so that is how we're going to be working for that. And then we have the custom product pages, which not only involve the creative team, the designers, but also all the UA managers. So we don't need to only have them, for example, sharing with us how they are doing better with the UI visuals, but also how they are going to be, for example, launching a new campaign, or how they can improve their results. So maybe we can segment one game better for one feature of the game, or maybe there is a game mode that can be done better if we improve their presence over the UA campaigns. Also, if they wanted, if we have a live event itself, we can also have a UA campaign more dedicated to that. Or if we want to segment it more for one gender or another, or for one age rate to another, so we can have different icons, different screenshots, and so on, that those can match really well the visuals that the UA campaign has, or even the message that the UA campaign is sharing. And so in that sense, we need to be working really closely with the UA managers and seeing how those campaigns are really doing, in terms of, does this custom product page idea or hypothesis that we have in mind, does it really, it's worth it to spend all the time creating these new visuals and then having to analyze it all? Or maybe for one localization, we need to maybe localize it better in terms of the culture of the country, and then maybe segment it better for the UA campaigns, and then optimize not only the UA results, obviously, for the UA campaigns and the budget, but also optimize how we're going to be then having a better conversion rate there.
Yeah, I think there's so many things. But one thing you started touching on is also that there's different priorities, but that also means to me, maybe it's not the same strategy for everyone. And at Gameloft, obviously you have multiple games. So can you share if there's different strategies you anticipate would be adopted by different genres, for instance? I think if we look at more casual, mid-core, or hardcore gamer profiles and games that are put out there for them, do you think it's going to be the same strategy to go after one custom landing page dedicated to each segment, or will some games work more on the in-app events part or just on the organic testing? What are your expectations around that?
Sure. So this strategy is really different for each type and genre of game. So for one game, one type of game that could be more soft game or casual game, maybe the live in-app events are going to be more important for them, because maybe the UA campaigns are not going to be that deceiving in terms of having new screenshots, for example, more adapted to those. But then we have the hardcore games, where if we have a licensor, or we have really different areas or game modes or different features that you can enhance in these custom product pages, we are going to be working more closely in terms of bettering our conversion rate for that sense. And then we need to be really, I would say, picky or specific with which games are we going to be launching the in-app events, because there are going to be different type of in-app events that you are going to be able to be launching. It's not like the Google Play ones that we have right now. So we need to make sure that all our efforts in terms of launching these events are also playing a part and having a good ROAS in that sense, because so we're talking about custom product pages and how those are going to be giving us a custom URL for then used in the UA campaigns. But these in-app events are supposed to also be giving us a specific UA custom URL. And so those can also be used as a part of the UA campaigns, but also through PR communications. So maybe we have an event with a licensor, or we have a seasonality or something really specific and big for us in the game. So maybe we can even branch out and see which other strategies of communication we can then use that new URL for the in-app event.
Yeah, I love it. And this is a perfect segue into the next question I had for you, because I want to get into the specifics of each feature that Apple announced. We only have a few minutes, but I do want to try to cover each of them. When it comes to the in-app events, you mentioned you've already played around them on Google Play. Is there any sort of ballpark data you can share in terms of how it worked for you? Is there, do you see it's particularly helpful for re-engagement or for new user acquisition? And do you expect the results would be the same on iOS? Is there any difference you expect in the UX of the store as well?
Sure. So yes, we are working with those over Google Play. I have been for a while. So yes, as a approximation of numbers. So when we have a live ops event on Google Play, usually have a double of the visibility of the game, but we have 4 times more installs, and it is something linked to what you mentioned, not only new users and new acquisitions, but also a lot of returning users of people that maybe have installed the game, and then those users maybe have lost interest in the game, but then when they see that we have a live ops event, they reconnect with the game and then they connect with us again. And so this is something that we hope to see similarly interacting with us on iOS. And then from there on, maybe we're going to be seeing that, because we can also be having different events for different localizations and so on. We can interact and engage better with the different users.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think just also a couple of information for the audience about in-app events. I think, first of all, these are expected to be the first features that will actually come to the store, because this is going to be impactful for the users, whereas custom product pages, A/B testing, that's going to be super important for developers, but might be a bit trickier to build. And so we're expecting this. We may be wrong here, but I know we've talked about this, and we see this is probably going to be the first thing coming out. And at the same time, one of the big changes from Apple is also that you will have that custom landing page that you can build from the in-app event card. And you will also have the possibility to have that page appear 14 days before the event actually starts. So you could promote, and people can tap a notification bell to actually get a notification once the event starts. Is that something you've seen works in other parts, even with inside the games with the product team? Is it something that you're already looking to track in the console as well?
Yes, so we are hoping to be able to track it, because so we're talking about the main features from iOS 15, but there are also new analytics that are going to be able to be tracked on. And so we want to see how this interacts. And as you mentioned, also with the developers, with the more people that are in charge of how the game is doing, we want to see how many people are really engaging with the new event, with how many users, how many returning users we're going to be able to catch on, and see how these new features, or maybe these new specific elements that we have when a live event it's going on, how those are really going to be taken into account by the users. And then after our event, we want to see how they are going to be having some sort of retention versus what we have right now, that it's not really that much of a data that is provided by the console versus what we are expecting to see with iOS 15.
So I want to turn on to the other two big changes. When it comes to A/B testing first, You've mentioned already the question of seeing the differences between iOS and Android users. Do you expect that will mean that many games will eventually have very different creatives from one store to the next, or do you think it's going to be something that is tested but will still remain the same in most cases?
I think that, I mean, in everything, it can be also applied for applications. So when we test something, maybe the result that we come up with is not really something that it's in the same sense of a brand coherence in terms of the visual assets. So what I always recommend to do is that just take the slot and go for it, apply the different icon, because if what we are seeing, especially with organic testing, is that a new user is more prone to then maybe click on that icon and then download the game because of the icon, maybe it's something that we need to hear, and then from that we can learn and maybe adapt the icon. And the same thing goes with UA. Maybe we have I would not say wrong, but a different approach organically with the visual assets than what we can be learning from the UA team and how they are having the UA visuals and what is performing better on UA. So maybe adapting those to these new ways of testing it will open our eyes and our experience with the game and the users better in terms of hearing them better, hearing the user more, and seeing what is really appealing for them in exchange of what we usually might be thinking that it's the best for our brand and it's the best for the game.
Yeah, I think that's particularly interesting as well when thinking about the fact that the UX of the store is not the same.
Yeah.
Like in the Play Store, you actually see the creatives only once you get on the product page. But in iOS, you actually see the first 3 creatives when if it's portrait creatives, otherwise it's only 1 in landscape. But you see those creatives in the search results already, and then if you go to the product page, you see a different number of screens. And so I think that's also why custom product pages are going to be a big change. It's because now you could optimize for one channel which is purely referrer, and it doesn't have to be only paid UA. It could also be other referrer channel, even influencer campaigns, for instance. But you will be able to really customize the experience to where someone is coming from, as long as you know where you're putting that link that drives to the special page. And so with that, I think the big challenge is just that we know it's going to be a URL, and not all the ad networks actually work with URLs right now, because they usually optimize with their own signals. And so do you expect those networks to make efforts to be compatible, or do you think it's going to take a while to have all the advertising networks be compliant with the requirements for custom product pages?
I hope so. I hope to see more networks be having this URL extension for them to be having these campaigns for the paid campaigns, because so not only Google Play, iOS and other stores are moving with a quick path, and so we're moving really fast in terms of what we can embrace our users to be seen. And so by having that, and especially now that we're going to be having the custom product pages, so product pages made mostly for UA campaigns, if those networks are not going to be having this some sort of result of this option for the developers, maybe they are going to be having lower amount of developers or campaigns, and maybe we're going to be opting for more networks that allow us to have a URL as a result for the campaigns. And so maybe this way we can push further what they can offer to us.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's so much we could talk about, but we have to get to the Q&A. Just before I'm opening the box right now, but at the same time, I just want to mention to the audience that if you want to learn more about iOS 15, you can head to AppTweak social media. We have an iOS 15 guide, also an iOS 15 hub on our website. So there's a lot of information, and obviously both Claudia and I are available on multiple social media platforms. So if there's any question we're not able to cover today, share it with us as well. Now, looking at the questions already left in the Q&A, if you see someone's question particularly relevant, please upvote it as well. That's super helpful for me to know which one to pick first. But I'm just going to be picking the first one I have under my eye. And it's, how do you think the new notification system should affect the approach? I'm assuming this is about in-app events. Given that they seem to be bundling notification and deciding on the best time to deliver when the user is focused, will that weaken developer controls?
Sure. So this is something like we talked before. So we're going to be able to maybe re-engage more with returning users, in the sense that maybe, so we have games, it's not really about apps. And so when you search for a game, you maybe download a couple of games, maybe you play it a bit, and maybe you're not really that engaged in it, but you still have it downloaded on your device. So maybe it would be a good way to maybe reconnect with them and tell them, hey, we have this event, maybe you're really interested into it, maybe this is a way for you to come up and play with us again. And this is a way that we're going to be able to reach out to them, instead of waiting for them to replay our game, or maybe just waiting for new users to come.
So I see one question which obviously speaks to me, which is, what tools and systems are you using to monitor all these variations of campaigns?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be having new metrics on the console. So this will be able to see how users are going to be interacting with each of the custom product pages. We're going to be able, if you have the API of the App Store, for example, you're going to be having more segmentation about gender, age range, localization in terms of the language of the region. You're also going to be able to see in which screenshot does the user lose their interest, and so on. So this is the way that we're going to be tracking it internally by the API, and not only the dashboard of the console online. And so this way we're going to be having it more of an organic approach to say something. And then we're going to be seeing how the UA campaigns that are going to be having these custom URLs from the custom product pages are going to be then having in-app events seen, or having new users, new registrations, and so on.
Yeah, I think on that front also, it's all about the console first, and this is where also the ASO tools come up. So this is where I can just tell all the AppTweak users out there, keep an eye on what's coming next in AppTweak. I see I see Chris is also here. So I'm just going to pick one last question. I'm very sorry, but I see this one is coming up.
Fine, no, you're good. It's okay. I have another question. That's fine.
It's just I see multiple people ask about the amount of efforts that seem to be needed, and where to focus first. So I'll just let Claudia share what she thinks is the best way to focus, and I'll give my opinion after.
Sure. So I would suggest that if you have a lot of UA campaigns going on, if you have a big budget, I would suggest you to focus on the custom product pages, and then from there on realize what you can maybe implement or test organically. But if you don't have that much UA budget, I would suggest to go for the product page optimizations and just test the new visual assets that are going to be able to be tested for organic users, and see how those interact with your audience.
Yeah, my take is pretty much the same. I would just say it could even be in-app events. The whole point is talk to your team. Your team will tell you this is the most important priority right now. Look where the users are already coming from. If you're trying to address a situation where it's all about the engagement, that's where you will want to look at the in-app events. If your challenge is just having an upgrade to your creatives overall, turn to A/B testing. And if you're already good on the overall front and it's more about the contextualization, that's when you speak with your UA team and do the custom product pages.
Awesome. That was, I mean, I'm sure you could go on. It sounds like there's quite a lot to unpick there. And obviously, as not all of it's live yet, we won't have that much data until it's all live, but I'm sure we'll come back to that in future shows. And yeah, I was aware of obviously some of the changes, but not all of those things. So thank you so much, Simon and Claudia for sharing that insight and your experience so far. I wish you the very best with these new features and the ever-changing App Store, which keeps us all in business, keeps us all engaged. Thank you for your time this morning. If you want to talk to either Simon or Claudia, you can find them in the Meet to Match or Discord or wherever, and you can continue to ask questions. I'm sure they'll be able to help you, certainly much more than I would, but I'm going to go and read up on that myself. So thanks, guys. I'm going to let my... Did a good strong start. Well, a lot of detail there to begin with.